Hi everyone, hope you guys are all having a great day. Today I am going to share my 5-star reads for 2018. I have 10 books to share with you. I was very pleased with myself this year because I read 52 books. A couple of weeks ago I made a video about my final TBR and I requested your opinions on what you thought I should read for my final book of 2018, and I did choose A Christmas Carol because it was Christmassy. But A Christmas Carol is so short that I was actually able to finish 2 other books as well, which brought my final total up to 52 books. I have never done that before. I've never read that much, and I really enjoyed my reading this year. So 2 of those books were Harry Potter rereads, so I'm not going to count those right now, which means that I read 50 new books in 2018. And 10 of them I gave 5 stars to. So that's an interesting little statistic for me. I don't know how that compares to you, really. I'd be very curious to know, of the books that you read, how many did you give 5 stars to statistically? What does that mean for you? What does that look like? I think that's just an interesting little numbery thing. I actually thought about trying to do a graph of mine, and then I decided no, I'm not going to do that. Math is for school, and I won't be doing it right now. So I will jump right into the 10 books that I gave 5 stars to. The first book that I gave 5 stars to is Bonhoeffer by Eric Metaxas. I have talked about this book several times on my channel, so I'm not going to talk about it again. I thought it was brilliant, very well written, and I enjoyed learning about this man and this time in history. The second book that I gave 5 stars to is Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. I know that many people didn't like this book because I can see how it could be a little bit insulting, but I personally really loved it. I feel like it gave a very truthful perspective of this segment of our culture, and I just found it incredibly interesting and valuable for several reasons. One, because it's such a clear perspective of my family and where I come from, but also because I think it gives a different perspective on poverty in America that I think is incredibly valuable. He takes a good look at the work ethic issues in this demographic and how that affects poverty. And unfortunately, I think that it is a problem that spans across our country, and I think it's a problem that really needs to be solved. Unfortunately, J.D. Vance doesn't offer up many solutions on how to solve this problem, but I don't think that was his goal. I think his goal was just to take a look at his story and how it applies to the rest of this hillbilly culture. The third book that I gave 5 stars to is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I don't have a physical copy right now because I gave it to one of my brothers in March, and he lives in Maryland, so I'm probably not going to see that book back anytime soon. This book is an urban fantasy novel about, it's just really, it's funny, it's entertaining, the characters are very well developed, and I really enjoy the characters a lot, and I also thought the plot was intricate and entertaining. The fourth book that I gave 5 stars to is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is actually probably the first legit fantasy book that I've really enjoyed in a long time, and so I enjoyed reading it and getting back into that part of the fantasy genre. I thought the characters were well written and I enjoyed the plot, although really I think what I enjoyed the most is the world and the magic system and the way that the characters interact with one another. I'm really enjoying seeing that develop over the course of a couple of books, and I will continue with this series. As soon as I get the third one, I have to order it. I don't know when that will be. The fifth book that I gave 5 stars to is All Quiet on the Western Front by Eric Maria Remarque. I've talked about this several times already. It is a World War I novel, but it is not historical fiction per se because it was written right after the war. It is written from the perspective of a German soldier, but part of the beauty of it is how universal its concepts are. I really enjoyed it and would definitely recommend it for anybody who's interested in war novels, really. The sixth book that I gave 5 stars to is A Man Called Uwe. I did not expect to like this book because it was such a popular book at the time, but I listened to it on audiobook. I felt that the narrator really captured the essence of Uva and the surrounding characters and just thoroughly enjoyed the story, and will definitely be reading more by Frederick Bachman. The 7th book that I gave 5 stars to is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I had no expectations going into this. I just knew that it was sort of a more modern classic, and I can understand why now. The writing is beautiful and simple. The story it's just sort of a slow weaving story, coming of age story of this young girl and the different things that happened to her family in New York during that time period. I really enjoyed it and hope to read a little bit more by Betty Smith. The 8th book that I gave 5 stars to is Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane. This is a short fantasy novel about good and evil in light of a little boy who sees death for the first time. It's how he handles that and what happens as a result of that. Neil Gaiman just dives into the deeper elements of that, and he puts it in the context of this really, really interesting, beautifully written fantasy world, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a short little book. I thought it was brilliant, and I can't wait to read more by Neil Gaiman. The 9th book that I gave 5 stars to is Kristen Hanna's The Great Alone. I've talked about this one several times as well. I really enjoyed it. I thought the writing was pretty well done. I loved the story and the setting. The characters are so Alaskan, and the story is very Alaskan too. I know some people probably read the story and thought, oh, that couldn't really happen, or oh, they felt like she was just putting in like little plot twists and things and sad things to happen, but that's just not the truth. Alaska is a very dangerous place to live, and many of the things that happen in the story happen in real life. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, two homegrown Alaskans went missing on their snow machines, and they died. They had a snow machining accident. Both of their snow machines went through the ice, and they were experienced, just like the characters in this book were, and it does happen. These things are real, it is really dangerous, and people do things, people make mistakes all the time. And so I don't think that anything Kristen Hanna wrote in this book was an attempt to make you cry. I think the things that she wrote in this book actually happen in Alaska. And that's one of the things that I found so beautiful and touching about it. That's why I will come back to this book over and over again, is just because it so perfectly describes Alaska. And then the final book that I want to share with you is Flotsam by Eric Maria Remarque. This is another great book by this author. I really, really enjoyed it. This is just at the beginning of World War II as refugees are fleeing Germany, and it's the story of a group of refugees as they interact with one another, cross each other's paths over and over again, and just how they attempt to survive in this time of turmoil for them. I will say I did think that one part in the middle was a little repetitive when they're jumping from like one border to another in between France and Switzerland, I think. It got repetitive because this guy, for like a full month, he just jumps from one to the other. And of course, that's probably reality for these refugees. In fact, I'm sure it is. As part of a narrative, though, I think it got repetitive. Overall, though, I loved this book. It really just broadened my perspectives on refugee issues, which is relevant to today's issues in America, and I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I just find it very valuable. So that's it. Those are the 10 books that I gave 5 stars to. I would love to hear your favorite books of the year, and I have also really enjoyed watching your videos of your favorite books of the year. I hope you guys all have a great day and have a wonderful New Year's. Thanks. Bye.